Welcome to the PrivacyCast, the Data Privacy Podcast. You are listening to Season 1, and Season 1 is all about technology. This is our sixth session, and our focus today is your daily privacy life. We will talk about how small changes in your lifestyle can help you invest in your future to have a private life. I'm your host, Akarsh, and let us welcome Deepak Rout, the Executive Security Advisor at Microsoft. His reputation precedes him in the industry. He has over 2 decades of global experience across technology risk management. He's an expert in IT risk, cybersecurity, privacy, and compliance. He's a visiting professor at SPJAN University and also a trustee at Humane Charitable Foundation. Today, we both will discuss on demystifying data privacy at work and in life. Over to you, Deepak.
Hey, thank you, Akarsh, for such a nice and warm welcome. It gives me great pleasure to be in your program. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak today, Akarsh. I do work for Microsoft, but this what I speak today is purely as a professional with some domain expertise on privacy, and the views are absolutely personal. I'm aligned to global thoughts on the process on the subject, but I would say that my views are very different than many people. So this should not be attributed to anybody, but myself as my individual capacity. In the last decade plus that I have been involved firsthand with the privacy industry globally, and there are many aspects that are relevant to India, both from a social as well as practical perspective, leaving aside the regulatory and technological concerns. And we will peel the onions and all that today. And most importantly, how do we fuse an approach that works synchronistically between our personal and professional lives? Also is a very interesting aspect for everyone to consider.
Yep. Thank you, Deepak. Deepak, very, very happy to have you on our show. And we have been trying a lot to record this. So welcome on board. Now,
Thank you.
going on. This is one of the important things that we through our podcast we are trying to reach out to people and tell them is what is data privacy to you as Deepak. What is data privacy to you, and how, like, being in this field for 20 years, how have you seen privacy evolving in the field as well?
Good. I think if I just give you a 20-second introduction of myself and my career profile and a person, you will then appreciate my answers much better. So I essentially spent about 16 years in the army, completely oblivious to the word called privacy, but very much dealing with things like national security and information warfare and espionage and counterintelligence and all that good things that people do in the spy world. I was in the military intelligence, so 16 years of that life, both real world intelligence stuff as well as technology world. And then in the last 12 years in the corporate sectors, both in India and globally, and in a variety of industry segments, where I have had the pleasure of working both on security and on privacy in varied domains, as far as IT services and telecom and finance and banking and insurance. So a variety of sectors. So my answer to data privacy is that it is too much of a jargon, okay? And just as everything is kind of created with a little bit of a marketing buzz out west and to catch our interest, it is that. At the root of it lies though something which is good, and that is about the wish of a person to be left alone if that person wishes to. That's one, as an individual, as a person. And then as a corporation, the necessity of a corporation to be a good citizen, to not keep their personal or organizational interest, corporate interest above the customer's interest or the lay person's interest. These two factors are at the root of privacy. One is my rights as an individual to be left alone or to be interacted the way I want to interact with the world. And secondly, my right as a consumer to be respected by a corporation giving me a service. Could I answer your question, Akash?
I think we are getting there. So I think when we say that as a human being we want to be left alone, I think India is a place where we are social, right? We are opposite to data privacy. If you look back a few years, we have joint families. We have people who we love talking to each other, right? We want to know more about people. So I think it's a cultural question as well when we look at it from an Indian perspective.
I have actually, in fact, looked at that, and I also fell for this kind of explanation initially when I was groping my way into privacy. First of all, there is no one India, and there are 1.3 billion Indias because every idea, India is just the nationhood which is bounded by the constitution and the boundaries. It's just a 70-year-old thing, and nation state concept is less than 200 years old. So that's not India. It's just a name. If you want to talk about culture, and that's very much the point. Culturally, we have some cultural similarities, but our view about that is individualistic. So between you and I completely differ. I'm a very private person. I do not want people to know who I am in real life. A few people in my close circuit, family, friends, may know who I am, but there is still a deeper me that only I am aware about. So it is incorrect to say that India doesn't understand privacy just because our social life, our family life is shared. That does not take away from the fact that we have a personal, individual life as well. Because India is a deeply spiritual land, and our quest for search of life is a personal quest. So at all levels, social, and personal, and technological privacy is definitely a concept that applies to everywhere. In India, it may look socially that way, but if you peel the onions of each individual that you interact with, I can tell you as a myself, the image and the information that I project about myself in the world is my projection. It's a conscious projection of who I want the world to see me as. That's not the real me. The real me is what I protect. That's why I understand what privacy is for a person.
Right. I think it's talking to you. I think it has. I can look back to 3 years of my career, and then so talking to you, I feel that when I look back in my career, in my youth, right, how I have grown up and seen mobiles taking over most of our things, most of our functionalities, the amount of data that is getting spread over. I can relate to you when we say that we are projecting someone. I think I'm totally uh, I think that is why we are talking today and trying to explain and
Mhm.
trying to get to people. Now,
Yes.
moving on, like how have you personally evolved in sharing data in last 2 decades with the technological evolution and the evolution of electronic devices that are around us? Sharing of data has become easy, not just internally in areas, but globally.
Excellent. Yeah. So I'll answer that in the two perspectives that we are talking today. One is as a citizen, uh, which is my perspective of having a relationship with the society, and the other is as a consumer, that is me having a relationship with the service provider who's making money at my cost. So, as regards the society is concerned, my exposure to my society or the world in general on the digital platform is a true reflection of my personality in the real world. So my personality in the real world, known to my family, my core family, my extended family, my friends, my acquaintances, my neighbors, is that of a person who is affable and reasonable and fairly social, helpful. And if you use those adjectives to qualify me, my social media presence, which is captured in Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, Instagram, etc., will project a similar picture. In that persona of as a citizen, over the years, I realized that the digital media, while I was using that digital media as a citizen, they were looking at that same media as me as a consumer, and they were pushing things on me, or they were selling my profile information to people of their partnership channels to target me somehow. The moment I had that realization, I came out of Facebook. I came out of every other platform where I was present as a citizen. I realized that my citizen presence in the world does not require a digital medium. I do not want to be digitally present to be a citizen because by nature I'm a private person. So my friends, my family, my neighbors who know how to find me in the real life, I do not require a digital persona. So you can say if you go around look, you'll find zero digital presence for me in the social platform as a citizen. That leaves in the second persona, my avatar as a corporate person. Like I have a professional life. In that life, LinkedIn is a professional platform where I want people to see me as a professional, and there I have projected myself professionally the way I want to project myself. Now, that's a true projection of what my professional persona is. Now, the hybrid of the two, so digital mediums where they want to see me as a as a target for, it is hard for them to target me. They can target me on my email and my phone, and my email and phone is given on my LinkedIn platform because I want the world to communicate with me as a professional. When somebody breaks the boundary and communicates with me as a consumer, that's the time I use my privacy boundary to call them out to say that please do not spam, or I use my spam feature in my mail. So there are these two worlds which over a period of time, as my awareness has grown, I have been able to navigate to reduce my exposure and keep it limited to what I want to. Regarding devices, I am aware about the notification and location preferences and privacy preferences. Initially, I used to keep my privacy filters pretty tight in Facebook, etc. Then I came out of the Facebook platform altogether. Now I use my privacy filters in my devices very tightly to keep my privacy exposure limited. And those who still manage to come through those filters and breach into my personal space, I spam them or block those numbers, and that's how I avoid.
I think that's a very good point put forward in terms of a solution as to what we can do. Is I think one thing that you called out is all the emails that are wrong and are spam, you call them out as spam, so that Google or Gmail or wherever that emails are coming, that the tool manager can also identify that. Am I correct?
Correct. So, like in Gmail, you just go to a mail that comes to you, and then there is a spam button on top, right? You must take a second to hit that spam button so that Google knows that you, as a Google consumer taking a free service, has identified that thing as a spam. But Google is also a service provider to that spammer, and that spammer has bought the Google service platform to be able to spam all the Google users or send them. Those users like me who take the trouble of informing Google that, hey, Google, tell this guy not to send me email anymore, even if he has paid you. Google has to, as per privacy mandates, not send that email to me, but he will send that email to you because you haven't taken the trouble to. So I am a privacy aware consumer and you are a privacy unaware consumer. So you get those extra spam and I don't.
Right. I think that's. I think the next solution that came out of discussion was the notification button. So even I have personally, what I have done is, so I have an Android phone. So in the Android phone, when I try to decrease my volume, as easy as that. So there are four options of volume decreasing. One option is for the notifications. So what I do is I keep the notification volume to zero, so that whenever a Facebook message or a LinkedIn message or anything pops up, I can only look at it. I can control that now, because I am not, because once somebody messages me or there's a notification, I am not going to the phone. I am going to the phone when I want to go to the phone, and then I look at those notifications. That's how I have hacked it. Yeah.
Same here. So in my phone, my notification is on for my office email, not my personal email.
Okay.
It is on from Teams, which is my office collaboration platform, because I want people to reach me and I respond to them on an instant message in seconds or a minute, and that's about it. My notification from WhatsApp is off, from everywhere is off, even messages is off because mostly we get messages as spam. And then in a day, I take 2 or 3 breaks to look at my phone to see if there are any messages or emails that are of importance outside of my work. and that's how I catch up.
Yep. I think that's a good way to do that and actually conserve privacy and meditate for some time, because the more the notifications, the more it becomes difficult to work also in a day.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So, going on, uh, what are the top five things, right? We were just discussing about it, but what are the top five things that we should remember, especially when we are sharing our data? Because let's say there is an application, or I'm going to download an application. Uh, what is it that should be that comes to your mind, especially now, being privacy aware? Yeah. So those, what
It,
is it? Yeah.
so you're talking about applications on a phone?
On a phone, or let's say I go online and join a social media platform, right?
Okay.
Or
Okay.
yeah, or LinkedIn, or anything, any platform.
Good.
Once I'm giving data, the question is open.
Yeah. So you're saying that in a digital platform, what data is of high value, right? So even before giving the data, we should exercise restraint on where on digital mediums do I need to be present, meaning which website should I have a registered account on, and what applications must I download to use in my device. Um, Having been in a position to use a mobile device from, let's say, early 2000 or maybe late 1990s, when very few people had a mobile phone in the country, and I had to have one for my work purposes. The hype of the phone, etc., died down in the first few years. Hey, there is this message feature, and hey, there is this camera. Then the map was a big deal. So slowly, so over a period of time, as far as apps are concerned, so I moved from a Nokia phone to a BlackBerry phone to a Windows phone to a Android phone, and now to an iPhone. Um, the only apps that I have on my phone are the map, essentially, and over a period of time, you know, I get an app and delete it. For example, banking apps. Sometimes it's handy, but over a period of time, I have stopped using banking apps. Then I used to, when I was in Canada, I used to use uh, the airlines app, because web check-in, etc., are easy to do, or you go to the lounge and it is easy to show. So I'm saying I'm against use of apps in general, but for what is absolutely essential. A map is an absolute essential necessity nowadays. So I have that map app always. Let's say in North America, parking is a very daily important activity. So though it is it sounds like a very small idea, but it's a big pain. So having a parking app becomes a necessity. So each consumer must decide for himself, herself, what app becomes a necessity for that person to have on their phone, or even similarly, what web platform they want to be part of. Leave a registered phone number and email address, and verify that email address from their email, or verify that phone number from their phone by giving a two-factor authentication. First, reduce the exposure to the minimum. Um, so here again, I have spoken on this several times. Why do we think that the digital world, the internet highway, is any different than the physical world? That is a road in our community, in our locality, or a highway. It is the very same thing. How would you behave on the road in your locality and on the highway? Would you say hi to everybody and shake hands and say, hey, this is me and I'm passing by? I don't think many of us would do that. So some of us would do that perhaps. Most of us would cast our gaze in the direction of our objective and keep walking. And if a passing distraction happens, we try to stay as much uninvolved as possible, unless somebody is looking for a help, or somebody is giving a free fruit away. Today is a free fruit day, something like that. No, something real, something meaningful, or something where we can contribute. The digital highway is absolutely the same. There will be too many distractions, and living in this modern world of consumerism and capitalism, we have realized that anything that's free has got some price attached to it somewhere. And most likely, I'm paying more than what I'm getting free. That much is clear to us. That is why it requires to be marketed. So stay off marketing propaganda and stay off the free lunch and use a practical life approach as you do in real world, and our digital footprint will be easy to control. In that digital control footprint, what are the top things I would try to avoid? One is location services. So they're always trying to, what does location services do? They find out advertisers and services and products near to your geographical location and preference and give that to you. So it's a good thing if you're looking for a service in your area. It's a bad thing because then that allows for triangulation to take place. Multiple services know where you are, and then you expose yourself to them. So here the foundation principle is that whatever I need, I know where to go and get it. I don't require to be given that information. That's the foundation principle. If you think you need, for example, let's say I am trying to move from city A to city B, and I'm in Bangalore near the airport, and I want the best transportation quote from packers and movers. At that time, I'll go to 3 packers and movers services, register myself, give my cell phone, allow my location services to be on, and my email ID, so that I allow myself to be discoverable as soon as possible. And the moment my shift is done, I find the best code and shift, then I have to go back and delete them. That kind of discipline is required. So location services is number one. Secondly is mobile number, because that's a irritant when people keep calling you. I would be very wary to give that phone number unless it's absolutely essential. 2 things. Third will be perhaps my date of birth, because date of birth is a thing that is used in many financially sensitive applications for verification, for enrollment, etc., etc. So I would try to avoid that. Fourth would be about any other personal details beyond an email. For example, an address, not required, or other information about employment, about salary information, things like that. So people are always trying to slot you into a category that they can market well, and we really can't underestimate their efforts to market to us or reach us. For example, the Nigerian prince thing. So many people think I'm so smart, I'll not fall into that trap. So it's best to avoid such things. So I think I could name you 3 or 4 things. That's what comes to my mind now.
Yeah, I think overall there's a lot of pointers that have been pointed out, and I think we all have seen that now once we download that application, we have an option on what all accesses do you want to give, which we did not have a
Mhm.
few years ago. Due to the scrutiny, the mobile developers, Android, be it Google, right? Um, be it Samsung. So whatever applications are coming down to us, be it Apple, we are getting an opportunity to enforce our data privacy or choose what we want to give. So we should always stay ahead and do not give, let's say, if an application is for healthcare, does it need a location? It doesn't, right? So even if you are using applications, you want to get ahead with them, just make sure that you do not give the unrequired guarantees to that application. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Deepak, coming on, what is your take on data privacy as a career? I think with your over 2 decades of experience, and you have seen all the laws coming in, be it GDPR, be it the forming of PDPB. You were in Canada, right? COPA is there. So how PIPEDA is there? I think COPA is coming up. So how do you see privacy as a career in the next decade?
Well, so I think I stumbled onto privacy as a career path related to security. So I joined telecom company as their chief information security officer, and the telecom company happened in India happened to have a parent company in Norway, where overall in Europe and Scandinavia especially, they have very strong privacy regimen. So they had a strong privacy practice, and they were looking for a sponsor or a owner of that function in the Indian company, and there was nobody who understood what privacy meant. So And I had a little bit of an idea, so it came to me. And as per my nature, anything new and interesting, I take a interest to understand that, just to learn. So I said, okay, I will handle that for a little bit and see if I can take it. And as I came to know about it, and just at around that time, the IT Act 2008 amendments had come into being, and privacy for large consumer segments like telecom, where was a mandate. So it kind of worked very well as a part of my function. That's when I realized the overlap, the complementarity of security and privacy, and got to know more about it. And then I joined Microsoft as a privacy director, because by then the IT Act 2000 was in force in the country, and they wanted somebody to implement privacy practices in Microsoft India. So I realized that privacy is a very little explored career option for people outside of the legal field. Privacy has come in from the legal perspective as a career domain. However, as we know, there are, if you look at the GAPP and other generally the privacy principles prevalent in the various frameworks, there are two aspects. One is a pure technology aspect, because to allow for access controls, to allow for security of data, encryption, etc., there are technological means. There are complementing processes, but there are huge technological means. So that's one domain which has got legitimate rights on privacy. Then there are legal aspects where interpretation of legislation needs to be done to verify whether you breached or did not breach. So definitely lawyers become one of the segments of people who have stake in that domain. Thirdly, there are a lot of process compliance. Having a privacy officer responding to privacy queries when people ask for disclosure of their data, and compliance to processes, show it to them in terms of your customer exposure. So there's a lot of compliance and process work in privacy. There is a legitimate domain to look at: compliance, legal, security. I would say general technology. So making a website for collecting information and making sure that that information has got choice and consent built into it at source, etc. So web development and other technology work which goes into creating core business applications where privacy has to be built by design. So privacy by design area is a pure technological area beyond security. So if you summarize, the people who have stakes in privacy are security professionals, a lot of them, a bunch of privacy controls are around security, core technology professionals, process, project management, and that kind of professionals, compliance professionals, and legal professionals. So it's nobody's, fiefdom. There's a lot of people who are relevant to that thing. So as a career option, if you look at, business protection, letting a business continue despite bad things happening, that area is business protection. There are a lot of functions which fall into that area: physical security, information security, compliance. Privacy comes in that area of business protection, where you not only need to do good things as a corporate citizen, you need to save your backside from being sued, from breaking laws, etc. So this is a very legislation-driven area, and there are very few organizations like IAPP who give you a degree in that space. But as you know, a degree or a certification doesn't help beyond a point. You need to have experience. So all these 5 domains I mentioned, if there are professionals in these domains interested in business protection or letting business sustain despite challenges, then privacy becomes a very lucrative space for them to come. And with all these legislations coming in around the world, especially triggered by GDPR, I think regulatory compliance will receive a huge amount of boost and funding. Hence, it becomes a very lucrative career proposition for a lot of people.
Right, sir. So, sir, I think overall that perspective has been passed on. Moving on to our special round today, which is the rapid fire round. So I know people usually take some time and answer this, but I think the first rule of this round is that whatever comes to your mind first is something that has to be answered at just a two
Okay.
second, 3 second question. So question number
Okay.
one: data privacy or data security, which is more important?
Security.
Okay. Is there hope for data privacy in 2021?
Oh, absolutely. Like it's already in. Data privacy is unignorable anymore.
So coming on to our next and the last question. I think this is a question that is the most important one, and this is a like everybody across the globe would like to know your answer. Have you ever used a password which is password 123? Like
No, I
ever in your
haven't.
life? Never.
Never.
Okay.
I come from the intelligence world where suspecting the neighbor is the business. So
Okay.
I always kept my passwords good.
Yeah. So I think everybody in India is in intelligence business, by the way. Even if its neighbors are very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to know more about processing of personal data, reach out to Deepak Rout over LinkedIn. In our next episode, we have a special guest for you. So stay tuned to know more about technology that runs data privacy at the rate PrivacyCast. Just type PrivacyCast on any platform you use and you will find us. Over to you, Deepak, for a short thank you note.
I would like to add a little bit of a qualifier to that question you asked about data privacy and security. Security is one of the 10 GAPP principles. Access control is another, which is ensured by security. Why I chose security is because security is the way you enable privacy. So I'm not by any means saying that privacy is less important, but security in that sense is a subdomain of privacy. If you do security well enough, privacy will be perhaps taken care of. There are non-security principles there as well. So thank you so much for giving the opportunity to be a part of your privacy podcast. I think you are charting new territory, new course with this. It is early days for privacy in India, despite 10 years of people having been speaking about it. The new legislation and the mandate by the government for corporations and government itself to be compliant, to respect people's privacy in the digital world will go a long way in opening doors for careers and opportunities in this space. And I wish you great luck being one of the first movers as an entrepreneur in the space of privacy in India. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Your words mean a lot to me. Yeah.
You're welcome.